tape, we talked about how to pop a plant out of its pot in preparation for planting it, how deep to plant it. We took a look at the pot, and pretty much that's it. This time we're going to cover a few more things. I've changed plants. Last time it was a Catalina, I keep saying Catalina cherry, but it's Catalina perfume, a ground cover. This is still a woody plant, but not quite as woody. It's got these lovely purple flowers, and it's called Verbena lilacina de la Mina. It's such a lovely, melodious name. And I chose this plant because its roots are a little bit fuller to the pot, and I wanted to talk a little bit about what one should do with that. So in this short clip, we're going to talk about popping it out of the pot and preparing the roots to plant the plant. So here we go. Just like we talked about last time, we don't pull by the stem. Instead, we put our hand over the top of the soil here around the stem, around the crown of the pot, turn it over, and we wiggle the pot until it comes out. So I'm going to hold this real close. You can see that this one is really quite a bit more fully rooted into the pot, almost pot bound, but it's really not bad. Now, there's a lot of disagreement about what happens next. Some people just take it from here and put it directly into the soil, into the ground. Other people will talk about breaking up the roots and spreading them out. In this case, they really are starting to circle the pot. You can see that happening here. So I think it's a very good idea to pull them apart a little bit. Still, other people do a third thing. They take the plant and they just soak the whole root ball so that the soil falls off of the root ball, and then they plant it. It's called bare rooted. And there are advantages to each of this. One of the disadvantages to leaving the soil, even if it's not this tightly rooted, one of the disadvantages to leaving the soil around the root ball area is that oftentimes the soil has a lot of organic material in it. Let's see if I can show you. Here, you can see this. There are pieces of wood in there, wood chips and flakes and things like that, and they decompose over time. And so if you've planted this in the ground and those little pieces of wood decompose, you sometimes end up, the plant will either sink down, or it might have pockets, air pockets around the root ball that dry out very quickly. So that's one of the disadvantages to leaving the soil on the pot, on the root ball. On the other hand, some plants are very brittle. They can be brittle in their stems, and they can be brittle in their roots. And what happens is that when you touch or manipulate the roots, they just fall apart. They just crack and break off, and just in your hands. And those plants, if you were to hose off the roots or to pick the soil out of the roots, you may end up with a plant with no roots at all. So it depends in part on the type of plant. It depends in part on whether the roots are wrapped around. This one looks just playing around with it. The roots are pretty tough. They're taking what I'm doing to it. So what I'm going to do for this plant is I'm just going to loosen this. I want to loosen these edges and pull these out a little bit. It doesn't matter if we lose. I am losing some roots. That doesn't matter. So you can see I'm going to get even closer. Okay. And I'm going to just shake some of the soil off and loosen up the roots. Got the South Pasadena parrots flying through. Here we go. And like I mentioned last time, the depth of the hole that we're going to plant it is from the crown of the plant, which is right here, on down to the bottom of the root ball. It's not really to the bottom of the pot, it's to the bottom of the root ball, because you want it to be sitting on hard-packed soil, undisturbed soil, so it doesn't sink down any further. So I'm going to do even a little more on this. I'm going to be a little brutal on this guy and see. Hopefully we'll get some discussion online about how different people do this. Another issue with regard to leaving nursery soil around the root ball, again, I'm going to see if I can get a few pieces of this to show you. There are a couple of green balls in the soil. That's time-release fertilizer that's in the soil. I don't know if I got that in front of the screen. And these are native plants. They need the fertilizer when they're in the nursery because they want them to grow pretty quickly and get them out for sale. But it's better not to have too much fertilizer when you put them in the ground. So that's another reason why it's kind of nice to try to remove as much of the nursery soil as you can do. Anyway, I'm playing around with this, and I think it's ready to go into the ground. Again, the planting hole is going to be from here to here, and I'm not actually going to plant this one in the ground. This one is going to go into a pot, but that will come up next time. Anyway, there it looks pretty good to me and all ready to go. See you later.